Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain on a day like today? I can't do it. No way. Things are going great indeed. How are folks doing in the chat? What? This thing's wobbly. That's okay. Hey, rise and shine, says JJ Fox. Early bird gets the Bitcoin. The Great Awakening truly is happening. It looks like it. It looks like we're having fun with the Great Awakening indeed. Don't miss it. Lee J369, good morning, Count and Crew, TGIF. Oh, my beautiful and lovely wife has brought me my coffee. I need a sip. I need a sip right now before I continue with the chat. Howdy, y'all. Howdy, John Cena 19. That's some good coffee. We love it. Hey-o, morning, wake up, gang, indeed. Jesus is King. Good morning, Bitcoiner, Citadel, Daniel, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. John 1:13. The goal of the gospel is salvation, not heaven. Thank you for that, Chef Zero. CB Van, the sun is in the same in a relative way, but you're older. The sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older, indeed. Chef Zero, blessings, Bitcoin Fellowship, Bampians, indeed. Universal high income, very interesting idea, and supports this other idea. You don't have enough Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about universal high income today for sure. TGIF, Nolan, what's your thoughts on Simon Dixon's thesis? Simon Dixon, I don't know if I overall consistent. I disagree with parts of it. I'm obviously not a doomer in any way, but the way he was talking about the theater of the Iranian war and that most of the outcomes were decided a long time ago and that he wasn't lighting himself on fire about it all, I think I agree. I think some of his black pill stuff on the way things are going to head in America with the UBI and all that. Sorry, not the UBI, with the CBDC spying money. I'm not exactly sure, but maybe. I don't, first of all, consume enough of Simon Dixon's material to be able to say whether I strongly agree or disagree. There's been a few things I don't agree with. But I wouldn't warn you against him, if that makes any sense. I don't necessarily agree with him, but I'm not sure he's dangerous to you. And that's generally where my line is. It's not about whether I agree or disagree. It's whether or not I think someone is dangerous, where I'll go out of my way to show you that I suggest that you shouldn't consume their content, I guess you could say. But in this case, I don't think he's dangerous to you. So, and I don't agree with him about everything, but that doesn't mean I'm right or he's wrong or he's lying to you. So I don't think he's lying to you, I guess is what I'm saying. Although some of the doomerism stuff, I just, people can disagree. I don't see it that way. So there you go. So I'm overall in regular agreement with him, but oftentimes disagreeing. He does come a little bit from that Dugan school, I think. But again, he's been in the fight for a long time. I have a lot of respect for anyone who's survived and been pretty consistent in their worldview since the early Bitcoin days. And I will definitely give him credit for that. But maybe it's one of these European American differences in terms of optimism about the future or something. But the P-Man says, I try to watch positive information, not fairy tales, but he's just too dark. Yeah, that's where I'm at, P-Me Van. I don't think he's lying to you. Again, the people I've been bringing up lately, Fuego guy and whatever Tucker's up to with his Bitcoin stuff. And that's why Bitcoin is a great sorting hat when it comes to these things. And I think it's important to see it that way. Simon's got Bitcoin correct. Now, what his predictions are about the fiat world and nationalism and nations and America and all that stuff, I'm not with him on that. But I don't think he's out there trying to scam you to make a buck, I guess is what I'm saying. I think he believes it. I just disagree with him. And I don't think he's out to hurt you or anything like that. So I guess that's where I land. I'm of a mind that there is a temperamental difference between Americans and Europeans. and it feels like he falls into that temperamental difference. We just have a different speed at which we view the world, and I think that's where my differences with him come. I'm sure, Simon is one of the weird people. He was so successful in early stage Bitcoin that I never even really spent time with him or met him. He was already super established in the industry when I was just getting going. So you always got to give respect to people like that, and he's one of those people. So all in all, Simon Dixon is not someone who changes the way I think about the world, but I pay attention to what he says, and I've heard him say some interesting things. And again, I would not warn you against him as I would many others who I disagree with. In his case, I wouldn't do that. So there you go. It's Friday, and Bitcoin is still running, says Seaberger. JBJB Aloo, shorter of breath and 1 day closer. Speaking, I'm a little more healed today than I was yesterday. I had a great sleep last night. It surprised me what a great sleep I had. I woke up at 6 something in the morning. Very not common. The sun was already up. Barely 45, Chatelet wrangling a big compromised honey locust tree today. Wow. I solemnly swear I'm not homesteading. The tree is also at White's house, so +1 for tree equity. Very funny. Thank you for that, Barely 45. You're making a difference in the world. You're a genuine Rosa Parks out there, making sure those whiteys don't have too many trees, right? We don't want the whiteys with too many trees. Nolan loves Simon Dixon, Charlosky says. Why not homestead? I want to buy acres and sell organic food for sats. Land, you missed. We had a story the other day, Land XR33, and it was from Canada. It was one of our NPC news. One of our NPC news stories that we covered, which was there's too much there's not enough tree equity in Canada. Too many whites have trees in their yard, and so the city of Toronto wants to fix it with new trees, but not if you're even the neighbor of a white person. They don't want even the shade going over to white people. They want to make sure the white people get more melanin so that we can even equal out the color of skin over generations. That's the plan. I made that last part up, but might as well if we're in the theater of the absurd, right? I find out the hard way. Don't ask. Countdown, 2 to count, 3, 2, 1, showtime, folks. Simon Dixon is a good dude. Yeah, I guess I would agree with that, JJ Fox. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't think he's scamming, and I think he's trying to help you. That's my standard. I think he's trying to help you. I just disagree with a lot of his stuff. That's where I'm at. By the way, I listened to Stefan Molyneux on the Brendan Gentili podcast. Great stuff. Nolan, you could book him on your show. He seemed grateful for the invite. I've actually booked him a few times. I will ask Brendan for the contact, though. You're right. I do want to have a conversation with him. We actually have, I believe I knew him before. I've always, the minute I saw him in Bitcoin, I found him familiar at the look. And there's a reason for that. He went to the National Theatre School, and I was heavily involved with the National Theatre School accidentally in some way, in that I worked for the biggest summer stock theater in Quebec. Quebec still has that summer stock theater, or at least it did 20 years ago when I worked in it, where just like in New York City, all of Broadway gets out of Broadway for the summer because it's too hot. It's sort of an old industrial calendar thing where people would leave New York because all the wealthy theater goers anyway were in Montauk and were up, by the coast towards Cape Cod and the summer parks like Mohonk. And if you remember Dirty Dancing, they're all at these country clubs and things like that for the summer. So they would put plays on in the countryside. So even Streetcar Named Desire, when Tennessee Williams produced it, the actual Broadway version with Marlon Brando, would break for the summer and go and take up residency in a countryside theater. And so it's called Summer Stock Theater. And just because the patrons were in the countryside. So we have that in Montreal. Weirdly, the National Theatre School and the Centaur Theatre and all the English language theaters we have here Montreal is an interesting place because, like New York City, it's not a government city. It was a city produced fundamentally by private enterprise. And what that meant was the English community that was here even had to go further, and they're really philanthropic. So Montreal has a hugely philanthropic English community, and they have all kinds of things like theater that function as a result of that. So I worked in a summer stock theater for many summers, where a lot of my friends went on to big careers in Hollywood and acting and all that kind of stuff. And the summer stock theater shows we did were excellent. I had such a great time. We did Travels with My Aunt, the Graham Greene play. We did a lot of really great. I've talked to you guys before about the Hank Williams show we put on. So we did really excellent work. It was a lot of fun, and we did The Importance of Being Earnest one year. That was a really excellent production, and I loved my job. It was a terrific summer job, and we got to meet all kinds of people. So Donald Sutherland was our main patron. We had all kinds of people coming through regularly, heads of banks and prime ministers. It's a rich area that I'm from, so the summer stock theater was great. The actors would all get these houses, and this is where I think I might have met him, is that all the actors and stagehands and technical people, the stage managers, there's so many wealthy people, and this is how summer stock theater worked in New York and in Montreal, where all the wealthy patrician landowning families of my area would always have some cottage house or something, and they had been giving them up to these actors and thespians for years to come and spend the summer. So it's a great gig. You get a free house for the summer. You get some old lady, some old liberal lady taking care of you, you know, bringing you groceries, driving you to the theater. They just want to be involved. They would come and volunteer all the time, these old rich people. They were great. It was a lot of fun. They were not the boomer old rich people. This is the other generation. These were greatest generation people. And so it was a lot of fun. And I mean, this is 25 years ago, 26 years ago that I did this. So somewhere in there, I think I knew Stefan Molyneux, and I'm interested in coordinating around that, because I used to go to a lot of parties. We used to party, you know, one day a week. The theater would be closed 2 days a week. We would all come into Montreal. People would go back to their apartments, and actors and all that stuff. And I was always hanging around with them. So I would, you know, I usually had a place in Montreal too. And because this was, like I said, 25 years ago, you could easily have a countryside house and a city house. My rent in Montreal those years was like $300 a month for like giant apartments with extra rooms. And Montreal was a real great place for people our age with not a lot of money back then. And it never really, even to this day, it never really got caught up in the North American real estate speculation game, because everyone was leaving Quebec because of separation. That's why separation in Quebec will totally fix the housing problem overnight. It's one of the reasons why I think it's a great idea for Quebec. We did get a bit of that housing inflation come in 2020 with COVID, but for many years it was not an issue in Quebec. We had the cheapest housing. Even when I graduated law school in 2008 in Quebec City, I had a absolutely stunning Art Deco apartment in old Quebec, and no roommates, nothing. I paid $300 a month with big giant French windows and all kinds of amazing stuff. It was a great place. So Quebec, just because of the demographic issue, Quebec doesn't want immigrants. They push people out when they can, and they don't like a lot of arrivals, especially those who can't speak French. So we're a little disassociated from a lot of the North American problems. That's why I still spend a lot of time here, why I love it here, why I wear Montreal t-shirts from time to time. I'm very bullish on my city and my province and all those things. So anyway, Stefan Molyneux, all that said, is from around here. He's from the Ottawa Valley, so he's just down the road. And when I first saw him in Bitcoin in, let's say, 2014, I consumed his content before he became a Trump guy. It was like a surprise to me when he became a Trump guy, because I was interested in his Bitcoin content first. So he was one of the rare Trump Bitcoiners. We're a very small gang from 2015 that got MAGA and got Bitcoin, and he's one of those people. So I always have a lot of time for Stefan Molyneux, and generally a huge fan. I disagree with him on a lot of things. You know, I just do. So not as much as Simon Dixon maybe, but I'm still, supportive of his worldview and would love to have a chat with him sometime. Dixon 2 black pill for me. Pessimistic Bitcoiners turn me off. Yes, I think that'd be there. That's also what I mean. I don't think I don't think Molyneux is that black pilled. Very dark, but he's had it rough. Yeah, exactly. Quiet desperation is the English way. Simon is super interesting, but is a very fiat personality, says Narwhal Tacos. I don't know if he's a fiat personality. I think he believes the powers that we're up against are extremely powerful and are going to be a lot harder to dislodge than I think. But then again, he probably wasn't a fan of wrestling and kayfabe stuff, so that could be the difference between all of it. Again, the world is going to be running on American optimism. There's no way. That's why I don't give a shit about all of this. Like, the world is unhappy with America. Who gives a fuck what the world thinks? We did that for years. What is the world? Oh no, they don't like us. They don't fucking like us anyway. Shut the fuck up. Time to eat a fucking reality sandwich. I don't care. Better world is coming. We don't give a shit what these losers say. Doesn't matter what people think about America. Any comment on Trump's son's legal crypto case being sued situation? Chef Zero asks, I think you're talking about the... are you talking about the Justin Sun stuff, Chef Zero? Yeah, the Trump scammy crypto stuff is a major problem for him if he loses the midterms, which I don't think he will. But that's why you don't hear about it as much, because they're keeping powder dry to attack Trump in a few months, because there's definitely crimes there if you want to apply the law strictly. I've been calling the Trump coin a shit coin from day one. I spent time at the inauguration broadcast complaining about the shit coin that he launched. Now, I don't mind living in a world where crime is legal. So I don't want to see him or this kind of crime, white collar criminal, financial crimes. I don't believe in any of the SEC and all those people. So fuck it, just let it run hot. So I don't morally care what he's up to, and I think the world is changing anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But as far as narratives go, that one could work if things go wrong in the midterms. That's going to be the prosecutory plank. Now, Justin Sun getting the stuff going with World Liberty Financial is mostly just Chinese propaganda. So I wouldn't see it past. I wouldn't look past that. And again, World Liberty Financial was very obviously a scam, like very obviously. So if this, and I expect it will, my belief about this from the beginning was Trump is just speed running the 5 stages of Bitcoin acceptance, and it's going to require him to go through, like many other people, the crypto filter. Once you realize what a scam crypto is, you double down on Bitcoin. Why should Trump and the Trump family be any different than anyone else who's ever entered this industry? Everyone sees the scammy stuff first and convinces them it's not scammy. So I don't see why the Trump family would be any different. And it looks like they're just going through a very similar process to most. Now, I never went through that because I had the lucky benefit of being associated with some of the earliest Bitcoiners before Ethereum had even launched. So we saw all the scams coming out of the ground. And that was a big advantage, but not everyone had what I had, which was, deep Bitcoin thinkers about the block size wars before they even happened. Predicting the block size wars and what it meant to be Bitcoin and a Bitcoiner in terms of the what do you call it again? The what is it called? Lindy, out of Lindy type appreciations, right? That Bitcoin was the oldest, therefore was the best. Any 2.0 attack, any Ethereum, Solana stuff was all just consumer fiat mindset, and that we had to bifurcate and split from those things in order to reprogram people's psychology from a deep, profound sense. So that's how I see those differences. That duped helped a lot of people when Celsius broke. Yeah. No. Again, I think Simon Dixon is he's not out to hurt you, right? Like Fuego guy here, like everyone's talking about Fuego guy. The tell on Simon for me is his consistent message to buy Bitcoin and put it in cold storage. Exactly, Charlosky. Yes, exactly. He is doing, I think, what he thinks is best to help you. And I won't criticize people like that, even if I disagree with them. Of course, we can disagree with people, right? That's nothing wrong with disagreements, and especially around these times of change. So that's what I think. Like I wouldn't I wouldn't sit around consuming Simon Dixon's content, but just because it's not the same speed that I see the world at, and but it doesn't insult me or anything like that. No big red flags go off when I read Simon Dixon stuff. I've probably gotten mad about his opinions before, but that's just cognitive dissonance on my own end, which we're all susceptible to, right? He might have said something over the years that made me angry because I disagreed with it, because again, I do disagree with him about a lot of things. But if I ever did get mad about something he said in the past, it was probably just me having my own version of cognitive dissonance, which we always have to be aware of. We cannot recognize cognitive dissonance in our own selves, right? You can't identify that. It's very difficult. So there you go. Yeah, Fuego guy. Now that dude is dark and dangerous. Exactly. Try and recognize what the devil looks like. Exactly. Yeah, and that's not our friend Simon Dixon. Professor Jang blowing up lots of coverage yesterday, says Lee J369. I said it from the beginning. I was suspicious of that scumbag from day one. That's why we call him Fuego guy. Fuego's for everyone. If you just know that Bitcoin is a scam, why would anyone create it? Because of who would share things like that? It's a scam. Like, where are the servers? Where are the free egg-rolls? We need more egg-rolls because no one, who would give away free egg-rolls? Nobody. You make an egg-roll in your basement and you'll give it away? What are you talking about? So that's why we make fun of free egg-roll guy. Morning mowing sounds damp. It definitely is, but I needed to get it done. There you go. Red flag for me too. Escape. Learn something new every day. Take it easy, Echo. Count Thespian. Is there video evidence of this production? No, this would have been before cell phone eras. And I think some of it came out a little bit sad in that one of the great actors, the guy who I think I knew because of Molyneux, ended up killing himself. One of the most entertaining magicians. He would do the one where, have you ever seen that magic trick? He would just entertain us at all these parties where, I mean, that's what was great about this whole environment. The parties we used to have, you know, there are communists and everything there. I was always a non-opposite of a communist with them, but things were more open back then. And they had this one fella who was raised as like an orphan carny in England, like the real story. And he learned in that world to be a magician and to become an actor. You can see him in one of my favorite movies, filmed in my home area, where almost all of these actors have bit parts, which is the I'm Not There, which is a Bob Dylan biography, much better than that stupid biography with the guy from Dune. This Bob Dylan biography took different versions of Bob Dylan. And what I mean by that is you had different actors playing a story where there is no Bob Dylan in the story at all. It's just a bunch of storylines with people playing versions of maybe Bob Dylan. So you had one little black boy who lived as a railway hobo, lying because the early version of Bob Dylan was, his name's not Bob Dylan. He lied about his past. He created a mythos and a character. Then you had Heath Ledger playing a actor who was famous for playing the folk hero version of Bob Dylan, which was played by Christian Bale. So this was right during the Dark Knight or whatever, the Batman movie, because Christian Bale was dead when this movie already came out. So, Heath Ledger was dead when the movie came out. So he played the actor through which they funneled a lot of Bob Dylan's family life, his story about his family and what went wrong with it and all that stuff. And then the folk singer, the Christian Bale character, ends up becoming the Christian revival singer after, who becomes a born-again Christian. And then you had Richard Gere, who plays Billy the Kid, who didn't die but lived in hiding. So that's the hermit version. And then you had Kate Blanchett, who plays the Bob Dylan of everyone's dreams, which is the Bob Dylan of rock and roll, and the Bob Dylan who plugged in his guitar at the Newport Festival and sang like a Rolling Stone in front of all of the acoustic loving peaceniks who hated electric music. And that scene, he pulls out his electric guitar and shoots the whole audience. That's where everyone was so angry, because he was playing electric guitar, because he basically rug pulled all of his folk audience when he became an electric music superstar. And so she plays that version, and one other actor plays Rambo, who had been stuck in a time machine and is getting interrogated by like the FBI. So it's a wild movie, and I highly, highly recommend it. It's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And you can find this guy who killed himself, the magician that I'm telling you about. He's one of the hobos that the little black kid meets on the train. He comes out and like that. But like my neighbors in the movie, all my friends, it's all my farm in Vermont is in one of the shots. Across the border, and it's all filmed in my area. It's excellent. It's a really excellent movie. So I believe that fella was friends with Stefan Molyneux pre any of this stuff. Again, it's just a weird thing where I recognized him when I first saw him in Bitcoin, and then found out he lived in my area, or at least, you know, around Montreal, opposite direction of Montreal from my hometown, but similar. They have Summer Stock Theater out there too. Same group. The rugs continue until softwares indeed. Yeah, Liberty Coin. I only trust Eric Trump for investment advice. Oh yes, Justin Sun, exactly. Thanks, Count. Yeah. It's mostly the Chinese putting the screws on it. Narrative, I've heard. He got liquefied through the shit coins for support. Yeah, who knows? Dixon, a classically trained professional financial analyst. Yeah, I'm a fan. Again, I'm not there. Todd Haynes directed. Great movie, says Charlosky. I really like the new one with Timothy Chalamet. I didn't see it, but if you say it's good, Charlosky, and you liked I'm Not There, I will agree with you about that, because I haven't seen it. People, if it's good, it's good. I'm not an anti-Timothy Chalamet guy. So there you go. All right, everyone, let's acknowledge we've got a major sunrise on our hands. We've got Bitcoin at 76, headed to 78, 77,000 US trash tokens. That's a hot sun behind me. Finally got sun here. I'm out of the Seattle lifestyle. Let's have a coffee and talk about what's new. You're going to like my fake news stories of the day. You are going to love them. We got some good ones. We got some great ones here. Ready? This is what we got, guys. You're not going to believe it. Teen boys are dating their AI chatbots. And you're like, wow, that's really bad news, right? Experts warn opting out of real relationships could hurt their careers. Oh my God, who cares about their sex life and their family life? Oh my God, their careers. In the age of AI, with everything changing, can you imagine that these kids' careers are going to be threatened? What a shame. What a shame. What a shame, their careers. We get this climate knowledge linked to student stress. A new study from Quinnipiac University finds that greater awareness of climate change affects students' mental health. Wouldn't you believe greater awareness? Awareness is what they call it. Greater awareness, more awareness. Let's get aware, right? But it also drives them to rethink habit and career paths. Oh no, oh no. It's not just the students having stress, though. It's also fueling gender-based violence. Is climate change fueling gender-based violence? The answer is, of course, you idiots. Of course it is. Of course. Now, what else do we get from the gender-based violence stuff? Let me see. I got an ad here. No. Oh, guys, I've been warning you about the heat for a while, right? How hot it is. And now this is, oops, what just happened? Get out of here. There we go. And now we get this Heat. Guys, they made a movie. Heat is a documentary that asks who we become when being in our own skin is unbearable. Guys, it's going to be so hot that being in your own skin is going to be unbearable. That's coming to you this summer, guys. That is very summer. You're going to have so much heat that your own skin, it's going to be too much. Just too much. Come on. Now, wouldn't it be a big surprise with all this heat? All the people have been telling you to be anxious. All the people who are worried about the gender-based stuff. What do we get this story today? Why is this thing so slow all of a sudden? What is going on here? Trying to exist. Yeah, you can't. It's very hard to exist in. U.S. beef prices are at record highs, in part because the country's cattle herd is the smallest since the 1950s. Guys, they fart, they burp, all this stuff. Look at all the anxiety. How many people do you have that have gone vegetarian? Right? Worried about the heat and being comfortable in their own skin. They can't be comfortable in their own skin if they're eating cow farts. Doesn't work that way. How surprised should they be? Oh, but the good news is, guys, international organization, right, says China, guys, is leading the world in tackling climate change. Let's all follow China's lead. What a great idea. They're recycling big time. And now you're going to see, though, look at this. New ways to focus on the real problems. Climate change is more dangerous than Trump. Pay attention. We are entering a period where some major house changes in climate policy will need to happen quite fast. A decade or two if we are to avoid ending up in the full hothouse Earth. Hothouse Earth, guys. Hothouse Earth is coming by the end of the century. It's more dangerous than Trump, says Quinn Dyer here. We get this. We get this too. Same thing. I thought I had two of these. Yeah, I do. No. What happened? Well, I thought I had two of those. Trump is causing it. We get this, though. Trump's fossil-fueled war is the perfect opportunity to end reliance on oil and gas. It's the perfect opportunity, guys. It's the perfect opportunity right now. Let's just go with that oil and gas. We got the chance. No one's looking. Parents are not home. Cancel the gas. We don't need it. We get this from NPR. Orban's defeat is a win for democracy and a warning to Trump, some say. So sick. I can't even laugh. But guys, look, Orban's defeat. What are you gonna do? Oh yeah, I knew I had two of these. How did they not get them together? Forget Trump. Climate change policy should be our priority. I love these. Forget Trump. Let's focus on climate change. Let's do it. Come on, that's a winner. Attacking Trump doesn't work. Let's get climate change. Let's solve it. This one. Look at how, and imagine people following Trump. What an idiot. Donald Trump thinks diet soda can kill cancer cells. What do experts say? What do the experts say about Trump saying that Diet Coke kills cancer? What experts say about taking it seriously when Trump says Diet Coke kills cancer? Donald Trump's Diet Coke soda claim sparks controversy, but I say no evidence supports cancer killing effects. No, I don't believe you. Trump was right. He was right. Diet Coke definitely cures cancer, guys. Good thing we have the experts here. Again, I am wondering, though, can these same experts help me with my thermostat? Because I just can't figure it out. Every day I get to my thermostat and I'm like, what should I do next? Remember, I had to look it up again. I have my AI. I have a whole Claude bot set up for it, right? I got Claude running. I got all kinds of things. Remind me what the experts are saying about my thermostat. How do I work it? How do I set it? So those same people here reminding us that diet soda can't kill cancer cells, you idiots. What are you talking about? This is great. Vote beat. New voting requirements. Troops at the polls. We asked 37 election experts what could disrupt the 2026 elections. What could disrupt? Were they ever worried about this before? Right. Overall, most experts didn't expect states to significantly change their election laws this year. No, here it is. Experts expect federal agents to disrupt the 2026 election. Well, perfect. For many election officials and voting advocates, the nightmare scenario for the 2026 midterms is if federal agents such as U.S. Customs and Enforcement attempt to disrupt voting or counting of ballots. It's already illegal for armed troops to visit voting stations, and Trump administration has repeatedly said that it will not send ICE agents to polling places this year. That it will not. However, new Secretary of Homeland Security Mark Wayne Mullen has declined to absolutely rule it out, and a majority of experts we surveyed expected something like this to happen. 27 of the 37 respondents said it was at least somewhat like the federal government would deploy some form of military or law enforcement at or near polling stations in the midterms. Uh-oh, guys. Uh-oh. Gonna steal the elections. What are you gonna do? We get this too. These are my favorite. Wall Street Journal. He was a darling of the anti-Trump movement. Now Eric Swalwell's rapid downfall is raising questions about what powerful Democrats knew and when. There you go. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, Eric Swalwell. And finally, I got one last fake news piece from Kramer's Game Plan. Let's see if the audio works, everyone. Looks like we're doing. So we're gonna move. No sound. Ah, Jesus Christ. Pardon my blasphemy. Gosh damn it. Anyway, it's just Jim Cramer saying you're all stupid. Bitcoin's a joke, which is perfect. We love it. All right, let's end our fake news coverage and get into the good stuff and see what's going on with the world. Let us see what is going on. Here we go. We get news that Trump has negotiated this incredible ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel. So very good news here. Majid Nawaz saying ceasefire declared between Lebanon and Israel. A grand regional settlement for peace is incoming. Trump said, I just had excellent conversations with the highly respected President Joseph Aoun of Lebanon and Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. These two leaders have agreed that in order to achieve peace between their countries, they will formally begin a 10-day ceasefire at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. On Tuesday, the two countries met for the first time in 34 years here in Washington, D.C., with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I have directed Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Rubio, together with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Raisin Kane, to work with Israel and Lebanon to achieve a lasting peace. It has been my honor to solve 9 wars across the world, and this will be my 10th. So let's get it done. President Donald J. Trump, indeed. We get more fallout from this around here. War Clandestine saying Trump secured a 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, and both leaders will meet at the White House next week as we move towards a peace deal. Trump is tying up loose ends, eliminating deep state assets, and stabilizing the region for years to come. That is what we said would happen, and that looks more and more like it is what's happening. Trump goes on, in addition to the statement just issued, I will be inviting Netanyahu and Joseph Aoun to the White House for the first meaningful talks between Israel and Lebanon since 1983, a very long time ago. Both sides want to see peace, and I believe that it will happen. So great news. Here you're seeing Majid Nawaz again predicting a grand regional settlement for peace is coming. They are all calling us mad, but soon they will come to know. Praise be to Allah. El Yakubi saying, Japanese TV displays the flags of Israel and Lebanon. Truly unprecedented. Real peace is on the horizon. Again, looking more and more like that. That was, of course, taken from Washington, D.C., but there you go. Getting even better in the wider region for peace, Zineb Rubia, who's just been so great on this whole thing, right? Arab media are now openly discussing the collapse of the Islamic Republic and what is going to happen next. Unbelievable, just 2 months ago, and a hint. And it just keeps getting better and better. We see indeed Trump coming out here talking about the peace that's going to be happening. It looks like the Iranians are agreeing to no nuclear finally. Here, I'll play the audio so you guys can hear it. This is Trump describing that he's going to get his way with the end of nuclear weapons for the Iranian regime, and finally peace coming to the wider area, not just Iran or Israel or Lebanon, the entire Middle East.
Very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
So there's Trump talking about the end of the Iranian war because of the nuclear question. Again, you have Majid Nawaz regularly and incessantly predicting a grand regional settlement for peace is coming, not a localized one. This is beyond the Abraham Accords, something a lot bigger. One of the predictions that I made that you would see, and you will see as confirmation that this is all over, is that I do believe that the United States will withdraw almost entirely from the region as part of the peace. So that's one of the off-ramp, face-saving aspects they're going to give to the Iranians, which is, and the Iranians have been asking for this, that America withdraws entirely. Now, they have real estate considerations on these bases. I don't think it's going to be a complete and total withdrawal. They'll leave a skeleton crew because of the real estate assets themselves. There's no reason why the Americans should get rid of that stuff. It makes sense to have the optionality to come, but the amount of human capital that'll be there will go down. Here's already signs that this is happening. The U.S. has ended its ground presence in Syria, which lasted for 12 years. They're all leaving Syria. Tom Luongo says, long expected and necessary now that the hard part is done. No more tripwire troops for MI6 or Davos to force us back into a ground war. In other words, the world is healing. I think you're going to see more announcements like this, more withdrawal of U.S. presence in the area, because the truth is that whole Abraham Accords focus and the Board of Peace is going to be enough infrastructure to create the necessary structures to keep the peace and to not let these things continue to spiral. And here's Trump having some fun in that same press conference when they're asking him, what's different this time with all of the peace that's breaking out? Majid Nawaz having a good laugh, but here you got to hear it from the horse.
Israel and Lebanon have tried to make peace before. What's going to be the difference this time?
Me. I'm the difference. Big difference.
Me. I'm the difference. Big difference. So here's what you now have to get ready for, folks. And it's going to be fun, I guess, depending on how you see this stuff. But the incidents of broken brains are about to go absolutely through the roof because Trump made this huge gamble on the golden age and removing the potential rug pull of the Middle East and what it can do to his golden age mandate that he's going to try and realize over the summer after the 250th or during and concurrent with the 250th celebrations of the American Republic. So you're going to see from now on the power and luster that Trump has just go absolutely through the roof. And as we know, when Trump consolidates power this way, when Trump is successful in this way, the equal and opposite reaction often takes place, which is people light themselves on fire, and the mental illness that comes from him winning is going to go absolutely through the roof, and you're seeing it already. Just see here, we see the blockade, I believe. We see everyone talking about this comment from Zero Hedge. Again, European elites are angry. The blockade, I believe, is so effective that it has struck fear in Iran, fear in China, and fear in the liberal order in Europe, which was counting on the war to drag on for months or years. Look at how angry they all are that Trump flipped the script on the Hormuz, while the emotion and irrational hand-wringing over the strait has been open to more ships and oil traffic, while the panic when oil prices are falling. It doesn't make sense unless they want the U.S. to fail. Regardless of how you might feel personally about the Iran war, it is undeniable that the situation has revealed many of our supposed allies are enemies. In reality, they were always enemies. The only thing that has changed is the truth is finally out in the open. Now, just think of how powered up Trump is going to get from all this. I said this from the beginning of this conflict. If Trump is right about this gamble, it was a gamble. If he's right, his Pokemon evolution, his new state is going to be so incredibly powerful. The scariest thing to Europe and the left, same thing, is that when Trump did works, it's the most horrifying doomsday scenario because it exposes them for the clown show they all are. It's only going to get worse. When Trump says it's me, that's the reason for this. Just look at what this is going to do. Awakened Outlaw commenting on the same note here about Trump's success. If Trump manages to successfully address Venezuela, Iran, including the Strait of Hormuz, and Cuba after having removed Chinese patrol of the Panama Canal and entering into a Malaysian joint military relationship to put our Navy in the Malacca Strait, thereby putting 80% of China's oil imports at risk, awarding the U.S. massive unheralded leverage, then how can anyone argue it was all undertaken and accomplished by Trump just ham-handedly throwing darts on a wall and hoping for the best? The obvious answer is you can't. It would be considered some of the most bold and courageous moves ever made in world history, moves whose outcomes will reshape humanity moving forward. Trump went all in and on the grandest stage of all. And by all appearances, this is exactly where things look to be headed. With all the late stage TDS crowd say then they won't be able to stand the adulation coming his way. Sadly, many of them are going to lose their damn minds more than we've ever seen. And I mean, like, legit lose them. That's what we're headed for, guys. We're headed for massive, massive, massive worldviews shattering, entire egos falling apart. The Reckoning says here, it is clear that the powers of the world felt Trump had finally overreached, that his hubris had finally led him into historic blunder. They know if it is instead Trump is able to pull this off, and this accomplishment is considered to be impossible without the help of allies, his power will soar. They fear a transcendent Trump more than they feel an oil shock. They realize the implications on the other side of a Trump victory against Iran, and you're seeing it all over. Here is the Promethean podcast saying much the same. They're talking about Thomas L. Friedman here, basically not wanting America to win because of how much it will help Trump and how much it will help Trump's coalition that he's built and how much power he'll get from it. So here's Barbara Boyd talking about
why the media all seem to be supporting Iran. Tom Friedman, the New York Times man on the Middle East, just revealed it. Let's listen to him.
I find myself, Michael, in a situation where I really want to see Iran defeated militarily, because this regime is a terrible regime for its people in the region, and nothing would improve the region more than the replacement of this regime with a regime in Iran that was focused on enabling its people to realize their full potential and integrating peacefully with other countries and stop occupying Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. So I'm all for that. The problem is I really don't want to see Bibi Netanyahu or Donald Trump politically strengthened by this war, because they are two awful human beings.
That's Barack Obama's go-to guy for advice on the Middle East. He would rather Iran not lose and have a nuclear weapon than see Donald Trump get credit for creating a permanent Middle East peace. But this week, two events showed all their theater about defending democracy against Trump, the tyrant, to be garbage. On Sunday, the EU ran a textbook regime change operation against a man they...
So again, you're seeing why this mental illness is only going to continue. But the problem is winning, which is what I said from the beginning, alters the chemistry of these things. Winning is what brings the good vibes. It's what brings the good chemistry. And the folks trying to attack winners doesn't really work that well. So the Pope here showing his weakness, right? Coming out saying the world is being ravaged by a handful of tyrants, and Majid Nawaz saying, relax, ya Baba, we're about to see an unprecedented peace breakout. Thank you for attention to this matter. Praise be to Allah, says Majid Nawaz. And of course, what we're seeing now with Trump's action reaction, it's causing this kind of mental illness. Imagine trying to attack the winner of peace, This guy is winning peace, and trying to attack the peace that's coming out of all of this. as tyrants and all of these things. It just comes across as mental illness, and it's going to be ineffective. None of this is going to work because of this evolution that Trump is going through, because we have all of this track record of what Trump has done now, the success Trump has realized over this time. Hold on, I gotta get this mic up in a way that it sticks. So you're seeing here from this reaction, and we all know where this reaction comes from. It's because people were betting against Trump being able to be successful here, and they made the wrong bet. You're seeing that Trump going after these deep state actors, the Vatican bank aspect of this, where the cash flow comes in for the human trafficking. Let's remind everyone that the story of Trump cutting off the 11 million US trash tokens to Catholic charities that I covered yesterday actually happened a few weeks ago. The timing of this story is interesting because Trump actually canceled this contract with CC 2 weeks ago, before the kerfuffle with the Pope took place. Kind of makes it seem like the kerfuffle is a response to Trump taking steps to stop the flow of refugees, quote unquote. So you're seeing it now, and you're understanding why all of these tyrants are being flushed out. How dare you accuse the Pope of being political? And we see just how political they've been for a long time. And that's why this Pope story is running out of gas. He tries to take to Twitter yesterday, and he says, "Woe to those who manipulate religion and the very name of God with their own military, economic, and political gain, dragging that which is sacred into darkness and filth." And everybody laughing at him and saying, "You're absolutely a dipshit fucking retard." And no one buys it, and no one is going to buy it. It goes on, and we're seeing the proof in the pudding already. His power is way down. Here you see Trump handling it perfect again. How does Trump handle the Pope in all of this instance? Listen to this, how pitch perfect this is from Trump. And you're seeing just the master of these debates and why it works this way. And just look at this weak, crying Pope trying to go on Twitter, trying to go and say, oh, he's dividing the world, without saying his name, without being direct, without getting involved, and trying to stay above it all, but obviously throwing mud and shit with everybody else. I'm going to make sure the audio comes through here, and just listen how Trump handles this, and you'll see, and you'll be able to predict who's going to win, because this guy got tangled up, I think, this Pope got tangled up with someone whose power and persuasion and abilities he just can't understand or match.
No, I don't. I have to do what's right. The Pope has to understand that. Very simple. I have nothing against the Pope. His brother's MAGA all the way. I like his brother, Louis. I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
What do you say to people who see that, who see your criticism of the...
Look, nothing, I have no disagreement with the fact the Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree. I think that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they do, the whole world would be at jeopardy. The Middle East will be blown up and the whole world will be at jeopardy. We're very close to making a deal. That'll be a great thing. The Pope has to understand, Iran has killed more than 42,000 people over the last few months. Think of it, protesters without guns, without anything. They were totally unarmed protesters. The Pope has to understand that. This is the real world. It's a nasty world. But as far as the Pope and saying what he wants, he can do that. Now, I know the Pope's brother. He is a big MAGA person. He's got MAGA all over his house. His name is Louis. He's actually a great guy. And I'm sure the Pope is a great guy. I haven't met him. But I disagree with the Pope. If the Pope would allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, you can't do that.
So you're seeing, this is just an example of the type of power leverage that Trump is getting. And you're seeing these folks expose themselves, and the results are very clear. We're already seeing CBS News did a poll on Trump's disagreement with the Pope and what it's doing to the Catholic voter base in America. They're fine with it. Nobody gives a shit. A new CBS poll found that 58% of weekly mass attending Catholics approve of Trump's top job performance overall. Not surprising, as these are Catholics taking the faith seriously rather than just bearing the title. So here you're seeing, and indeed looking at the Catholic Church and their parishes and what they're going after. Peachy Keenan underlines the three woke 60 Minutes cardinals, Cupic, Tobin, and McElroy, do not want conservative Catholics in the church. They don't like parishes filled with trad families. Trad Catholics are a threat to their unchallenged power of many decades. They much prefer half-empty masses with a few warbling old ladies and new arrivals. They do everything in their power to make it harder for these families. Francis, who elevated all three, ruthlessly tried to stamp out the TLM in America, the trad families. He literally forced parishes to shut it down, and that is why things are changing as quickly as they are, and why Trump will have the power to go directly against the Pope and still win the Catholic vote in America. They do not speak for those people, and that's why you can see here, have you noticed that Trump seems totally unconcerned about the midterms? There is a reason why. Walter Kern saying much the same thing. Why does Trump seem unconcerned about the midterms? Creative thinkers only. And why I've been saying for a long time why Trump is completely unconcerned with the midterms, because he controls all these cards. Everything that we saw with Iran, he's going to reverse that into peace. All the headwinds that he got from Iran, he's going to manipulate that into energy for himself to move forward. And then he's going to pivot, and he's got months to do it, onto these golden age talking points. It's all about embracing the golden age now. America is at a fork in the road between golden age and this dystopia, and people are going to choose the golden age because the people selling this dystopia just aren't strong enough. They're not capable enough. They don't have the cards. They don't have the leverage. They don't have the narrative. They don't have the skills. They don't have the kayfabe. They don't have the heat. They have the fake heat of climate change. It's not the same kind of heat that we're getting from here, as we learned in the wrestling stuff yesterday. Here's Glenn Beck describing exactly what's going on with this pivot to the golden age. That's why I said it's all golden age from here until the election. Once Trump puts this war behind us, it's going to be full on America 250th golden age, golden age, golden age. And Glenn Beck here talking about this crossroads and what it means and why this pivot to the golden age is going to be important, and how all of this stuff related to Trump being able to pivot fully into this golden age conversation.
First,
I'm going to, and you're going to hear what Glenn Beck is saying is more or less everything you've heard here over the past few weeks. Zero difference. All of this stuff fits together in exactly the way Glenn Beck is describing here.
First, energy dominance. I just laid this out just a minute ago. Second, ending the post-World War II burden of, peace through strength, meaning we pay for everything. We're the strong ones and they get the peace. Third, control this hemisphere. Fourth, restore the military. Boy, have we done that. Now, 5, declawing China without getting into a war. That's a big one. How do you beat China? Because their plan is 2027 or 2028 to be dominant. How do you declaw them without getting into a war? Well, tariffs, tech controls, reshoring our factories, getting control of the rare earth minerals. All of these things have been done, and America yawns. Plus the $18 trillion of investment for our industrial base. Even if only half of that comes through, that's $9 trillion to build factories here in America. And then you're not going to build them tomorrow, okay? All of this takes time. That's the frustrating part. America First AI, tied to cheap, abundant American energy. So we surge way ahead of them in the real arms race of this century, AI, while China is getting starved of markets and minerals. Manufacturing boom here at home, but it takes time. Debt could get paid down, but we're not going to. Our plan will be grow our way out of weakness. Okay. 6, this is the one that people are not going to understand for 10 years. I don't think anybody's going to understand any of these. If these things work, I don't think any of us is going to understand them. One day you'll wake up and you'll start to hear people on TV going, Trump was actually really quite smart. He's been dismantling the globalist machine. The globalist machine was engineered to manage our decline and eventual collapse, okay? All of this wiring was put into this engine to be a governor on it, to keep it down, and manage the decline so it would fall into a new system that they were building. So in the first term, he takes the economy because it's not as governed as it is now, and he brings it so it's roaring back. Okay, then comes COVID, the perfect crisis for the World Economic Forum's Great Reset. They waited for that. I mean, I think they planned that actually, but that was not organic growth again. That was controlled demolition of the American markets and the system that we all have. Open borders, endless.
So that's why
regulations, Green New Deals, hollowing out of our industry, a deliberate weakening of American sovereignty so the elites could build the world in the way they wanted to do. Biden's policies just poured gasoline on that fire and, quite honestly, nearly nailed our economic coffin shut. Trump, thank God he didn't win in 2020 because he watched and he learned. He has nearly collapsed the WEF's entire agenda, but he hasn't killed it. All of these people are waiting to see what happens in the next 2 elections. He's building this new America.
Sorry, I let it run there a little longer because we had, just as I tried to end the video, yeah, burning toast. Yes, exactly. It's burning toast. My wife's getting the kids ready for their pod this afternoon, their homeschool play group in the afternoon. So I'm making some lunches for them. They're going to enjoy this beautiful spring day here. And so she's making lunch. And for some reason, you can cook steaks and make all kinds of smoke, but a little tiny burn on toast and the whole thing goes to shit. Don't ask me why. I make a lot more smoke than that and I don't turn any alarms off. But going back to what he's saying here, exactly, these things are falling into place and the sludge people are waiting for failure and hoping to catalyze or capitalize on the elections coming up. But I meant to clip this video or end this video when Glenn Beck was talking about inflation and how that problem is going to get solved, because that seemed like the one problem in this formula that he didn't quite have his grasp on. But of course, you guys as Bitcoiners see where that's going. We know that this whole new system, this bridge between winding down the fiat, tapering the fiat Ponzi and creating the golden age will go through bimetalism. And that's why here, the golden age getting hyped up by Elon Musk today with the golden era, the cyber cab. But Elon also taking time to talk about the UBI, Universal High Income via checks issued by the federal government, is the best way to deal with unemployment caused by AI. AI robotics will produce goods and services far in excess of increase in money supply, so where there'll not be inflation. What's really going to happen, and where I think Elon is missing the piece, is that we're headed to bimetalism. There'll be one form of money that will capture all of this inflation and one form of money that will inflate. And that's why we're going to have consumer money and saving money. That's why we're going to go to, when he says checks issued by the federal government, what he means are US dollars. They will be notes issued by the federal government, like T-bills, like silverback, like greenback dollars, like USDT, USDC, all of the stable coins that are out there. So when you see here Hank Paulson talking about what's going on with this inflation question, you see where this is headed. Here he is talking about the risk of inflation and what's going to absorb it. And very clearly, the answer is there. The man who helped the U.S. economy recover from the 2008 financial crisis is now warning of something worse. Former Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson says the U.S. debt crisis is coming. He says that when the Fed becomes the only buyer of treasuries and yields keep rising, the system breaks. Unlike 2008, the government won't have the fiscal resources to bail itself out this time. $39 trillion in U.S. government debt, rising yields, making it more expensive to service. The only option left is printing more money to pay off the old debt with the new debt. Every dollar printed devalues the ones already in your pocket. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million. No one can print it. No central bank can debase it. No government can inflate it to cover its own spending. When the people who managed the last crisis are warning about the next one should pay attention to what sits outside the system entirely, Bitcoin. Now, the reason why we're headed to bimetalism and what he's talking about here, going back to this question of when the Fed becomes the only buyer of treasuries, they're not going to be. the US stablecoin issuers are going to, as part of this bimetalism plan, to reassert the engine of the American economy into the Treasury, not the Federal Reserve. What's going to happen is the Treasury used to have all these other central banks, not the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve gave liquidity to foreign central banks, and then the foreign central banks bought the US T-bills. What's going to happen now is that instead of the foreign central banks, basically Trump is saying, all of your fiat Ponzi's, I'm rolling them into mine. That's why it's so important, and that's why I continue to tell you it's a great thing that Coinbase and Brian Armstrong lost the fight on stable coins generating yield in US dollars for Americans. The formula that you want to see, the formula that we're going to see, the situation that's going to happen is that the US dollars that are printed by, Jesus, stop going down. The US dollars that are created by the stablecoin issuers, the US dollars that are created by the stablecoin issuers are going to be zero yield in domestically in America, but they're going to pay yield abroad. So you're going to use every fiat tapered Ponzi as a shock absorber first. You're going to use the yen, the Canadian dollar. They're all going to dollarize on this USDT, USDC system. And those guys have to buy the debt. Remember, that's how they issue stable coins. They buy the T-bills. They keep the yield spread for themselves, but in a certain sense, they're going to want to weaponize it because the Canadian central bank and all these others are going to have to lower interest rates to keep up with the American central bank. That's why you're going to see bit bonds. That's why you're going to see the Treasury re-architect the whole situation. And you're going to see these companies getting Bitcoin for weaponizing the US dollar against Canada, against Mexico, against Argentina, against Venezuela, against Japan, against Korea, against anyone who wants to dollarize to be within the American sphere of influence. So that's step one. And then Bitcoin is going to be able to absorb all of this stuff. My mic stand needs Viagra. Yeah, it's still sinking. Huh? I have it tightened to the point where I'm going to break it. So I don't think I can do much more. Let me know if the sound is coming in well, though, if it's too low or whatever, because it just keeps lowering, doesn't it? I don't quite understand why it's so weak, even though it's pumped to its max. Of course, it's plastic. It's metal everywhere, except plastic where it gets the actual tension from the brace. So it's going to crack. I can feel it cracking. So I can't tighten it anymore. God damn it. So you're going to see this bimetallic system come out of this. You're going to see this recalibration. You're going to see the US dollar for consumption, the unwinding of all the fiat Ponzi's, the tapering of all the fiat Ponzi's, which were allowed to exist after the Second World War, which were encouraged to exist after the Second World War. And that is, I think, the formula here going forward. And I think it's what you're going to see. It's how we're going to get out of this problem of the inflation and how the US dollar is going to function within this new system. I'm so annoyed by it, though. Nothing on this stupid mic holds steady. I don't understand it. A bunch of shit. Come on. No, it just goes down. I don't understand it. So irritating. Should I throw it out my window? Should I just throw it out the window? No, it doesn't even go anywhere. Jesus Christ. I don't understand. Give me a second. Just have to hold it like I'm holding a fucking mic now. God damn it. So the whole bimetallic shift is going to happen, as far as I understand, by tapering the Ponzi's with other fiat currencies, absorbing all of that inflation into the US dollar as a shock absorber kind of thing. And then the US dollar is actually issuing greenbacks from Treasury using the Bitcoin bond mechanism in order to further absorb inflation in the dollar and to create a consumption-based money, which is where this is headed. So bimetalism in the cards, and it's why you can see here Besant talking about what's going on with core inflation and what's going on with how this golden age is getting architected. Besant reading the tape correctly. Core inflation is falling. The Fed is fighting yesterday's battle and the opportunity to own the future, war and rate cuts and asset repricing. So ignore the noise. You're seeing a completely new financial system come out of this. And again, what I said was going to happen when we pivoted this financial system, when it pivoted to these new narratives, and when you see what Trump is arming himself, not just winning from the war in Iran and the kind of superpowers that's going to give him, not just through recalibrating the financial system. As I predicted, he's going to be using Epstein files and kayfabe, and he's going to be making a new babyface turn, right? He did the heel turn on Epstein files, right? No, it's a scam. It's this. No, he's hiding it. He's in them. And now he's going to turn back. Now, I have no problem with them testifying under oath, right? And no big deal, right? It's going to be great. So here he is describing what's next about the Epstein files and why you're going to see this in general going forward, and why it's no surprise that this week you're seeing all of these stories again. Trump is out there, I think, setting the agenda and doing his best to promote and seed the narrative for what is coming next after this big win.
On Congress to further look into and uncover the truth on the Epstein files, the Epstein saga. Do you believe that there should be a public hearing for more of these Epstein survivors?
Well, I'm okay with it. I think we've had a lot of public hearings. I'm okay with it, but I understand that the women didn't want to go under oath. That's what I heard, that the women, the victims or whatever, they refused to go under oath, which was a little surprising. Now, Melania felt strongly about it because she was accused of that I met her through Epstein, but it turned out to be totally false.
So again, the reason why I predicted, I didn't know anything about Trump and the Epstein files more than what you guys knew. My prediction was that the appetite to learn about Epstein files was already low after the last round showed that Trump wasn't in them and it was a Democrat op for the most part. So you got to wind it down when the kayfabe is low, and you got to reset the kayfabe. You got to get interest in the fight going again. So Trump pivoting back now, he'll try and make himself a target, I guess. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's all winding down the way we expected, and it's all going in that direction, and you can see it. And now when you see Trump getting all of this power, getting all victims or whatever, Lance 2002 says, exactly. When you see the victims or whatever, right, in the conversation, here's where things are headed and why it's interesting that Trump is getting super powered at this moment. It's a pretty clear formula, and Stephen A. Smith here figures it out. Basically, there is no counterforce to Trump at this point. That's why I continue to predict that the Democrats are circling the main and they cannot survive this stuff. So that's why I'm not worried about any midterms. It goes from Trump with a plan on the financial system for the Ponzi, Trump with a plan on energy, Trump with a plan on peace, Trump with a complete and total pivot of the world over to this golden age narrative. And he's just going to lean into golden age talking points, as well as the kayfabe around Epstein and the great awakening to the amount of corruption that had set into the system with the Catholic Church, with Democrats, with all these others. And Stephen A. Smith saying here, basically, there's no counterforce. Trump will run unopposed. There is no enemy to him on these talking points. It's just the same old mental illness that's going to be out there. He says, Stephen A. Smith says, all you're going to do is look at the state of California and you're going to say, no way in hell. Pete Buttigieg, he doesn't move a lot of people. Josh Shapiro, the things that have been going on in Israel, the war in Gaza, that's going to be counted against him. There's no way the Democrats are going to elect a Jewish person. That's just not going to happen. Mark Kelly, I don't know how he's going to resonate with people. Kamala Harris in 2020, she couldn't even make it to Iowa in the last election. You had $1.5 billion and you still managed to lose that. Who's the definitive individual? I think they're leaderless now. Stephen A. Smith might try, but again, I think he's smart enough to know that the cards aren't there. His future might lie going forward. And all the weapons are failing. We're seeing here Gavin Newsom boosted his book sales with 1.5 million US trash tokens from his PAC. This comes from the New York Times. We've known for a long time that this money laundering situation happened with books, right? Oftentimes politicians write books so they can launder money. Gavin is running for president. He may be limited with campaign contributions, but a shady NGO can purchase 500,000 copies of his book and burn them. Now he's got campaign funds laundered as book residuals. This is a typical mockingbird tactic. We've seen this for a long time. Ain't going to work this time. Not even close. And it's also one of the reasons why the publishing industry is so fucked, which is why you're going to see better publishing systems in the future, which is why I've been working on a publishing system with Bitcoin for a long time. Something like this is going to break through and you're going to have real writers, not all this fake stuff. Here we see what's wrong with the publishing industry. It's because of scams like Gavin Newsom and Mockingbird Media that this was able to exist in the first place, because the publishing industry doesn't exist in reality. It exists within the Mockingbird fake money scams. It's a fiat abomination. And that's why these gender data from the publishing industry is so accurate. As Lomez recently pointed out, there's as many trans people as straight white men in publishing. Wesley Yang saying mind-bending statistics that help account for the blanket institutional capture of that industry. Every editor and publisher has a freelance ideological commissar breathing down their neck, ready to threaten, malign, bully, and emotionally blackmail them. So it's not coming from California. It's not coming from them. California gets even worse. They're trying to pass the Stop Nick Shirley Act, because surely no one is interested in fraud, right? So there's another loser content, loser comment, loser reaction to Nick Shirley. This isn't going to work. So the law hasn't fully been passed yet, but it's not going to work because audits are the #1 interesting storyline of 2026. And again, even here, the legacy news constantly caught up in its failures. Here we see the Politico guys knew about Swalwell's California corruption and all of his creepy raping and drugging. Politico had Swalwell dead to rights in 2019, only to drop the story because he dropped his presidential campaign. The energy disappeared to potentially take him out. Swalwell, apparently emboldened, then went on to allegedly assault more women. Good job, Politico. So the capacity of the fake news to change the world going away very, very quickly. And we're seeing it across the board. This story is so sad, this one and why the feedback is coming into the system more than ever. Here you see Joe Biden. There is no place for racism. He's talking about Governor Northam and Justin Fairfax being lieutenant governor of the time. This had to do with, remember, there was Ku Klux Klan, blackface stuff going on at the same time as Trudeau's blackface was out in Canada. Wesley Yang saying, dimly remembering the sequence of events now. Photos of Democrat white male Governor Ralph Northam in blackface emerge, who first denies that the photo was him before having to admit it was. Below, you see Joe Biden calling on him to resign and pass the office to his Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. 2 women accuse Fairfax of sexual assault. One states that a consensual tryst at the 2004 Democrat National Convention turned non-consensual, including forced oral sex. Another woman claims that Fairfax raped her in a premeditated manner at Duke University in 2000. Fairfax denies the charges, compares himself to Emmett Till, and calls himself a victim of lynching. Then photos of white Attorney General Mark Herring, who is third in line after Fairfax to the governorship, also in blackface, emerge. All 3 scandal-plagued figures resigned. Fourth in line for the office was GOP Speaker of the House Kirk Cox. Virginia's Democrats decided to hold on to the office. No one resigns. Virginia Democrats learned that personal scandals are survivable, and then partisan animus will keep them in office even after disturbing revelations about character surface. Virginia Democrats elect Jay Jones after texts surface in which he fantasizes about murdering a GOP politician, and more troublingly, After he is arrested driving 116 miles in a 70-mile-per-hour zone, he receives no jail time and completes half of his 1,000 hours of community by working for his own PAC en route to ousting a GOP incumbent to become the state's top law enforcer. Earlier this year, Fairfax calls police on his wife and accuses her of assault. Police declare that the accusation is not supported by evidence and take no action against his wife. Justin Fairfax murders his wife and then kills himself yesterday. So the no feedback loop in this Virginia model and Spanberger and all this stuff, probably not going to be a model for the country after you see what happens here and what you saw happen there. Same thing, just like the no feedback, let all these things happen in Virginia. With Swalwell, same thing over in Minnesota. Mary Moriarty oversaw the rape prosecution of Somalian, whatever his name is. She released him with no jail time. He went on to rape 2 more women. Now Moriarty wants to put ICE officers in prison. We cannot coexist, which is why the Democrats are absolutely toast. Another example here, Philly mayor. How dare you tell me as mayor how to tax you? None of this is going to work. It's all zero. It's all zeros. There's no counterforce for what's coming. Here, same thing in Massachusetts. As I said, audits in 2026. That's how much 2 Haitian nationals stole in a SNAP fraud scheme in Massachusetts. Their fake retail stores raked in $480,000 a month. Haitian migrants should be deported, not protected. So no counterforce to what Trump is bringing. Here he attacked Mayor Mamdani this morning on the same thing, saying that people are leaving, tax. It's so wrong. And this is just a great note here. Zorhan's wife, well, I don't want to get into all that stuff. I just wanted to play this one last picture. The last thing you see before you move to Florida. Well, today we're taxing the rich. Not going to work, guys. Not going to work. All right. Speaking of predicting what is going to work, predicting where things are headed, we've got the one and only true Heather in the house with some predictions based on the moon. We're going to talk about the moon. True Heather, what's going on? We're in a new moon situation.
Hey everyone, happy new moon.
Happy new moon. So you're only with us for a few minutes this morning.
Yeah.
You've got some obligations. I'm looking forward to seeing you in under 2 weeks in Las Vegas. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So let's have what's going on with the new moon. What do we need to know? What are the beautiful great awakenings?
Okay. So yeah, I guess we're both talking a bit about the cycles and astrology in Vegas, hey?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And I thought that was very Aries new moon energy when you were like, should I just throw this mic out the window? So you did good. You passed the Aries full moon and our new moon energy, because that's the type of energy. It's like we're gonna have the instinct to act like really impulsively, but of course the key is to not throw the mic out the window, although that would have been really great to see.
If I'm back, when I get the Vermont studio up and running, I'll start bringing some tech outside and just blow it away with my gun.
Awesome.
And printers have to go. So much of this shit just needs a bullet right through it. And
yeah, agreed. Agreed.
We got to,
and that's great energy, right? That's like, well, and if you think about the new moon energy, plus there's like 6 planets, so there's 5 planets plus the moon plus Chiron in Aries today. So, and Aries is like, it's often seen as like the warrior, but it's really like, it is a super fiery, destructive type of energy.
Good.
Like, yeah.
I'm in that mood. I'm in in the burn shit down mood.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Because everything that's not working, like we've all been putting up with it for too long. Personally, professionally, like just been putting up with it for too long. And so you'll see a lot of people just being fed up. You'll see a lot of people like either crashing out. This is where I've seen in my life, it's really benefited me just even having this awareness, because I can like watch people even professionally like crash out around me and like be the bigger person, like stay calm. Even if I can feel it, I'm not going to make rash decisions unless it's like really aligned with what I want. Mm-hmm. Right. So it is good to make a decision today or decision this week, like get that shit out of your life, get that shit out of your diet, get that shit out of your your thread,
We've been talking about it with the online influencers because of just the amount of damage these people caused over the Iranian war. I get war is stressful, guys, but the amount of people that came out and predicted, who all said the same retarded shit about Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin could be shut down by the CIA. It was Professor Zhang and Tucker Carlson and all these guys were telling you a month ago, oh, we're gonna lose, Trump is done. We're all gonna die. It's all over. And I warned people at the time, like, cognitive security is one of the most important things right now. Now, you might have liked these people. They might have said things before that you liked, but clearly something was up, and Bitcoin told on all of them. And that's what I was trying to reiterate. I'm okay with people disagreeing with me. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if we're going to come out and say that Bitcoin, where are the servers? And you're going to come out and say that it can be shut down with a button like Tucker Carlson. Remember, they all said this back in December when they all at the same time started going on about Bitcoin. Nick Fuentes, all these people. Now, I get why people like them, right? I get the entertainment value, but we're in an era here where you got to be careful about who you let into your brain. You got to be careful about what is exactly going on. And so I've been trying to promote this cognitive security idea about these people, because they might be right about one or two things, but that doesn't mean you should trust them, right? I don't think they have your best interests in mind.
Well, and those two words are great. I love that. Cognitive security. That's exactly what it is. It's like we have to guard our sanity at all costs. And it's okay if we're human and we have an emotion or want to change things and make big actions, but it's really important to make those actions from a place of leadership, aligned leadership, and not just I've been listening to all these talking heads and this is, because then you're just letting them create your reality, and that reality is bleak, my friends. This is not the reality that is the true awakening.
I think of it like with food, right? If you're trying to get healthy, and okay, you can take a break and have a bag of chips, but we're in a pretty dire moment now, mental health wise, and I'm making the physical, because your brain and your body are the same thing. And right now, just one bag of chips or one Tucker Carlson episode, or despite some of it being delicious and fun, you're not setting yourself up for success right now. And we're not in a period where you can just, sit on the couch and kind of veg out with some junk food. And you got to be careful of the junk food that's out there right now, more than ever before. I don't want to think in analogies necessarily. There's limits here.
Yeah, but that's a great analogy, because everyone can understand that. Everyone can understand how, and I think it's actually the same with health. It used to be okay to have those cheap foods, but now those cheap foods are so much more toxic than ever. And so it's a great analogy, because now those thought foods are more toxic than ever, because they're heightened. They know exactly what works, of how to hypnotize the collective and how to think people, how to get people believing in a narrative that's so small a group of people actually think, but then is perceived that, oh my God, so many people think this way.
Yeah, and I don't know take someone like Candace Owens. I don't know what her goals are. I don't know. I don't think she's a bad person. I really don't. I think she's a sweet person. I've warned everyone from the beginning. I loved the Becoming Brigitte series, but I said, this is entertainment, guys. This is documentaries, or whatever this is the lowest form of content, in the sense that it's designed for you to align with their point of view. It's not the other side of the story, which is fine. So I've been warning people from the beginning, take it as entertainment. Don't think of it as the truth. And, she went through a traumatic event with Charlie Kirk being assassinated, and this was a close colleague of hers. You can't expect her to react in a way that would make sense to all of us. And of course, it's going to have a nuanced, idiosyncratic, individual response that she had. I don't know what her motivations are. I don't think it's just about making a buck like people say.
Me neither. I mean, she's a perfect example. Yeah, she's a perfect example, because you can see how she can take something and expand on it and expand on it and expand on it and expand on it. But I think what's really important, and that's a great case, is like you could listen in and like resonate with something. But if you listen, like I used to listen to a lot of Candace Owens, and then when you zoom out, you start to see patterns. And I think that's how you keep your cognitive security. Is like you don't have to never listen to anything, but you have to be able to step back and look at patterns in yourself and look at patterns in your life. That's why we love astrology, because astrology shows us patterns and it shows us a bigger picture where we don't have to make these decisions like, oh, this is a psyop, or this person is doing this because of this. Because you're right, we do not know their intentions or what they're looking to create, but we do all have the capacity to zoom out, just see how, oh, now this is, this is where your show is really helpful, because you're highlighting the narratives and you're highlighting the patterns and going, okay, so now we're focusing on this. And now this person, and we don't have to say, oh, this person is the opposition, because we all have our opinions. If all of us had a mic, we would come on here and say all of our opinions. And it doesn't mean we're part of the opposition, but it means like that's where we sit in this conversation, just like she sits in that conversation, or she is exposing this from this emotion or whatever it is.
That's why I always turn back to Bitcoin to help give perspective on what's going on. Why I find it so useful, because it is a sorting hat of sorts, right? You can see the minute they started talking about Bitcoin all at the same time. Candace Owens hasn't spoken much or at all about Bitcoin. So she remains, that's a sign unto itself.
Yeah.
But when they come out and say these crazy things, you're like, okay, something's up here. Like this is not real. It can't be real. So what is going on? And so Bitcoin is the ultimate forcing function to expose this stuff. That's why it is a really good frame to put onto your interpretation of reality, because you can see who's trying to play you and who's trying to game you. And then, just take that and run with it as far as how you use it to reinforce your own cognitive security.
That's such a good point, because I mean, this professor, right? He could have literally just like, I saw some threads where people just ask Grok, or Grok, like just, you could literally do like a 10-second AI search and understand the whole server system of Bitcoin. Like it's so, that's so true. It's like, that's when you have to really go, okay, this is just planted. This is just part of something else. Like this, we know this is so, they don't even try to make it a little bit true.
No. And now it's going to, that whatever that low IQ podcaster that interviewed him, oh my God, right? Like that's the kind of person it's going to convince. And that, we love the low IQ. Don't get me wrong. We love all the 80 IQ, sub 80 IQ plebs. But they're not stupid enough to fall for this. It's kind of the COVID bell curve again, right? It's like the low IQs, no, don't trust the government. The high IQs, no, don't trust the government. Everyone else, but MSNBC, and they all said, and didn't you see the science and experts and all of these things? So, that's where I'm coming from, and I think why using that framework, using Bitcoin in this way, you're able to look through and figure it out. And so
that's a great tuning fork, to come back to just go, just to check our biases off and check our judgments off. But I have been also noticing that people that like, they'll be like, oh no, I don't like the mainstream media, or like, I don't listen to that. In conversation, these narratives are still coming out. And so I started to be like, well, where did you hear that? And so even though they're getting that this is not true, they're actually still getting it in so many other ways through.
The patterns are still there. The patterns are still there.
Well, and it's there like in the mommy blogs, and in the girl boss blogs, and in the webinars. Like it's all there in so many subtle ways that it's affecting people.
So it's all there in so many subtle ways, but you have to be somewhere else in a literal way. So
I do.
I appreciate you taking some time to talk about the new moon today. Let's get some content on the board together when we're both in Vegas, and we'll be just before the full moon, I suppose,
Yeah.
there. So let's do some full moon predictions for the beautiful month of May coming up, where I think the golden age is finally going to emerge from all of this darkness in a celestial astrophysical plane.
Yeah, I mean, it's go time. Like I put in my post, it's go time. Like if you are wanting to make a change, this is the time.
We love it.
It'll be fun to be in Vegas. And thanks, everyone. Nice to be here again.
Take it easy. Thanks. All right, folks. People happy in the chat that you're here. We love it. There we go. Heather has a case of Benjamin Buttons looking younger every time I see her. There you go. We love that. So there we go. Let's talk about the last few minutes today, see what's up. Indeed, I think before I was talking about the counterforce to Trump and what could emerge. Again, I'll go back to the media not really being able to do it. They've lost all credibility. The Democrats circling the drain. Publishing not going to be able to handle it. There's not going to be some book that comes out. There's not going to be some 60 minutes expose. There's not going to be some story in the New York Times. None of it is going to work anymore. And the Democrats are filled with their own scandals and their own hypocrisy when it comes to the media and their constant papering over of their problems and their constant persuasion. It's getting even better, though. You know, going back to Mamdani, here we see Zorhan and his wife in their tax filings. Zorhan's wife income was less than 10,000 US trash tokens last year that she made as a graphic designer. All these people are malevolent creatives and theater kids supported in New York City by their affluent parents. These stereotypes are absolutely true. So again, the Mamdani folks like this are just not going to be able to do the job. I can't imagine how this stuff is going to work. You know, again, taxing the rich, like Trump said, it's just not going to be effective. And it's getting even better. Again, what we were talking about with Heather and all of these online influencers. You know, their audiences. Here's Adam Townsend saying, "We are the media now equals we are the lying psyop. Pay me and I'll say anything you want to now." CNN, WAPO, New York Times, and its ilk are expensive lie machines. We social media influencers are a lot cheaper, and they're a bridge to some of the craziest QAnon, Tucker, Ian Carlin, fucking Gen people imaginable. CNN, New York Times, WAPO readership is the upper echelon, college graduates, highest income and net worth. That's a fact. Social media influencer followships is several fucking notches below. When you want to sell milk, you advertise on a lot of billboards in a lot of towns. Hold on. Adam Townsend, who I love, is a little bit wrong here. In that, again, go back to the Bitcoin sorting hat and realize that Bitcoin information networks don't fall into these frameworks. That's why we are so effective in this time of change. I would say that our readership is in another level. We have the most informed audiences in the world in general, and we're able to buck this trend here that he's talking about, and we're able to see things in ways that a lot of people just aren't, and a lot of people can't, you know, really. Why is it doubled up? So I'm gonna play it again. I don't know why I had it on doubles. Anyway, you don't see what I see. It was sharing twice for some reason. Because you're seeing already the effect of these people, right? You're seeing already what's going on. Here's just one story. A Bitcoiner, Jordan Schachtel, underlining what's been happening to Tucker and his associates. Black Rifle Coffee is fast going bankrupt. Instead of protecting shareholders, they continue to sponsor Tucker Carlson. Shares down 80% since the Tucker deal began. They're seeking shareholder approval for a 1-50 reverse split because they're not in compliance with the New York Stock Exchange. What a mess. It gets even better too. You're seeing here all of these people, Massey here now getting supported by the likes of Ilhan Omar, Peter Hogg, David Hogg, all of these folks. You're starting to see him crack. I think it's not working out.
Congressman, why are you working with Ilhan Omar to limit President Trump's war powers and ability to protect Americans? not President Trump's war powers.
It is.
You
He's a
should
president,
read-
right?
Yeah.
He's a
You should
president.
read
He's
the
commander-in-chief.
The
So him
power
being
to
the
declare
commander-in-chief,
war
he
is
has the
James
power.
Madison Wesley,
Who's the
but it
president right
resides
now?
in Congress, and there's no more important authority that Congress has than the power to declare war or not. So this is not the president's authority. He has the authority and the obligation to wage the war, to conduct the war, but it's only Congress who can authorize
But
it.
Ilhan Omar tweeted support for your resolution. Why are you working with her?
So you're seeing it all come out in the wash. You can understand the incentives here. You can understand, again, going back even to this argument about, the failure of these groups and even, what's going to happen on the university campuses. Just look at the counter forces to what Trump is unleashing and guess what's possible to stop them. It's not going to be university protests either. Here we see Hezbollah admitting, and they're toast, right? We are currently investing in protests and demonstrations in Western countries, especially among college students. We already have Muslim students agitating, but it's the Western students themselves who will destroy their own countries. It's not going to work, guys. It's not going to work. It's all going to fail. Here you're seeing people wake up to what's going on with all of these people. Here's Nick Fuentes getting called out today for basically just being a Democrat talking point machine. Again, the Bitcoin filter predicted this. It wasn't me who predicted this, by the way. It's not like, how did you get this right, Nolan, about Fuentes and Tucker and Professor Fuegos? It's because of what they said about Bitcoin. I have no idea that they were going to do this kind of retarded shit. But when they come out and say stupid shit about Bitcoin, you can understand where things are going to head next. Listen.
Of the United States.
Our country is under a hostile
doing the same. It's doing the same shit again. Let me. So word for word here, right? Word for word. Remember what he said about Bitcoin. It can be turned off, and he prefers fiat.
Our country is under a hostile occupation.
Israeli occupation of the United States government.
Israel controls our government.
Israel controls our government.
Control and influence and manipulate our system.
Ruled and controlled and manipulated by the nation state of Israel.
They are vampires. They suck our blood.
They suck the life out of this country.
We cannot be slaves to Israel.
I'm not a slave to Israel.
Iran does not have a nuclear weapon.
Iran did not have a nuclear arsenal.
The supreme leader of Iran promulgated a fatwa.
He had put out a fatwa against nuclear weapons.
We had to join Israel's war of choice.
A war of choice. That's what this is.
The real threat to America is from Israel.
Our alliance with Israel as an existential threat to the United States.
They will nuke the entire world.
Israel is the biggest threat to world peace.
Let us never forget who the real enemy is.
The enemy is Israel.
We need to decouple from this country.
We need to decouple. Decouple. Let's separate.
We need to free America from this sick, perverse, parasitic organism that has attached itself to us. Foreign nationals leeching off of public services.
The pariah state that has leached off the American people.
It's not just Netanyahu. On some level, it is the Israeli people.
The behavior of the Israeli government, and quite honestly, the vast majority of the Israeli population.
They dehumanize us. They don't see us.
They don't see Palestinians as human.
I'm an awakened goy. Jewish people think they're better than everybody.
And you think you're better than everyone else.
You know, the Jews do this.
Yes.
Go the fuck back to Israel.
Go back to Israel.
Greater Israel.
The Greater Israel Project.
The famous dancing Israelis.
The whole dancing Israelis thing.
The genocidal state.
A genocidal, disgusting state.
Why would I give a fuck about Israel?
I don't give a damn about Israel. I don't give a damn.
And I don't fucking trust them.
I don't trust the Israelis.
Your right to exist is not real.
I don't believe Israel has the right to exist.
Don't be moralized by wicked, evil people.
People as evil as this exist in this world.
God's chosen people rejected their own Messiah.
You think you're God's chosen people when you act like absolute demons.
So, I mean, there you go, right? And look, Israel is going to be very different after this conflict, and we're going to understand that the sliver of truth they're talking about in Israel is that indeed Israel was created to divide people. It was created as kayfabe, as theater, but it is not. There isn't some Israel that acts in coordination. It's the most divided country in the world because they're saturated in this fighting. They're saturated in this stuff. Of course, you can find examples of terrible Jews, terrible, absolutely Jewish supremacists, because they're sitting at the threshold of all of this brainwashing. You can find all of that. But there you go. It is wild, wild stuff indeed. All right, folks. Speaking of wild stuff, I got Hank in the house. Let's hear what Hank has to say. How you doing, Hank?
Wild stuff
Wild
coming
man,
through.
you
Watch
wild
out.
man.
It's Friday.
You're
I'm a wild man. How are you, Nolan? How's things going on the Great Awakening this morning?
We are enthusiastic more than ever about the future of humanity. And
Straits open, baby.
All the straits open, man. Straight gas prices. You're going to be taking trips this summer like you've never imagined. You're going to be free riding everywhere, man. You go to Yosemite for like $2.
I know. I just filled up yesterday like an idiot. I did not think they'd be doing this. I paid like $60 for 10 gallons. It was outrageous. I should have waited.
It's coming, and it's going to be even better in California. It looks like California is going to change entirely, right? I have a lot of predictions about, it's got to change, man. You know, the Gavin Newsom thing ain't working out, and Karen Bass is a disaster, and you need, in general, you need, you know, even I'll say this about, you know, Trump and the first administration. You want a two-party system because entropy sets in and you want it to bounce back. One party becomes entrenched for too long, nothing good comes of it. Just nothing good comes of it. So
no, you're right. Is that what you guys were chatting about on the show today? What was the top news you guys were discussing?
We were talking about the Iran war, Israel, Lebanon. Looks like it's all winding down. The huge mental illness crisis it's going to cause because of how overpowered Trump is going to become because of this, right? He's going to have a lot of sway, and you're seeing it already with the Catholic Church fight. Wrong timing, you know, not going to work out. We're already seeing polls come out that most Catholics are in agreement with Trump, and Trump showing how to handle it right away, where he's like, I have no problem. You know, he lies. I have no problem with the Pope, right? We're all getting along great. You know, I'm allowed to criticize him, right? His brother loves him. That's the way to handle it. And the way Trump is going to be able to continue to capitalize on it. Of course, when you look at the ramifications of all of this stuff, I talked a lot today about Elon Musk and his pitch for UBI. Because if this golden age era is possible, which is where I believe Trump is headed from 250th on, you're just going to hear him talk about the golden age, about making money, about the good economy, about all this stuff. So it's going to be about people's will to embrace the golden age. And financially, the problem is he is going to print like crazy. And we had Hank Paulson, the former Treasury Secretary, yesterday say it's going to be a problem with the Federal Reserve is the only buyer of U.S. debt because it doesn't look like anyone's going to show up for that debt. Elon Musk talks about UBI. That's basically bimetalism right there. That's the way they're going to do it. They're going to dollarize other countries. They're going to wipe out fiat Ponzi's around the world. They are going to create a U.S. dollar food stamp situation, a consumer money, but that Bitcoin will fork off from that system. You're going to see bit bonds. You're going to see all of that over the next little while. So that's mostly we talked about. Then we talked about the counterforce. It just looks like there's not going to be a counterforce to stop Trump coming up. It looks like California's too weak. Gavin Newsom doesn't have the cards. The podcast world falling apart, that's oppositional to Trump. So I think you're going to start to see the golden age come into clear view. I think Elon Musk already tweeted out golden age yesterday.
I hope so. But you know what can fork off is this UBI talk. There's no way in my lifetime that is ever going to be a thing. When was the no way. When was the last time billionaires started just handing out money because they thought it would be better for the world? They could be doing that now. Elon could be solving homelessness in the United States if he wanted to, but chooses not to, and it'd be very easy. There's no way.
But they are. That's the thing. They're going to be, the U.S. dollar is going to become basically food stamps. So no one's going to care. They're not going to be able to do that with the Bitcoin. The
No.
Bitcoin is the real money. So that's the difference, is they're going to be printing fake money like Argentina, like all these places.
Oof.
So it's the only way to counter this change. So
Yeah.
and they're going to have to, because if we don't do UBI, people are going to get eaten.
Oh, it's going to be an eat the rich
you know what I
scenario.
mean? Like,
None of this changes until it directly impacts the people
That's
at the
what I mean,
top,
and
which
it
means
will.
them getting eaten. I'm
It
sorry,
will.
we're going to have to be
I
eating
agree.
people.
I agree. And that's
So-
why it's either food stamp money to help people eat or the actual billionaires' thighs. And so,
Yeah. If there's any UBI, it won't be at the behest of the billionaires. It'll be after we've eaten a couple of billionaires and they've
Yeah.
realized we don't want to get eaten too. But we'll see. I certainly am no prognosticator.
Are you
but
talking about cannibalism on your show today?
I wish, man. This is fun. I like talking about cannibalism. No, unfortunately, we are not. But we got some great guests. We got Fernando, the Bitcoin libertarian. we got G Money, who is
G
a
Money's
riot.
in. Yeah, I'm interviewing
G-Money's
him at. I'll be interviewing him at Bitcoin Las Vegas.
Oh, he's fun. I love G Money. He's a wild child.
And you get him around for tax day. That's the best time.
Oh God, yeah, I should ask him about that. So yeah, and then we got Katie from Citizen X will be joining us in a bit. So a nice show today. I'm actually being told that I got to get rolling, but no one will let you finish things up.
See you later, Hank.
Enjoy your weekend. Thanks.
Yeah,
See you next week.
Peace,
Bye.
peace. All right, there's Hank, everyone. Indeed, you heard who he's got on his show. Head on over there, check it out. It's going to be fun stuff. G Money's the man. All right, folks, I'm going to play the logo followed by the thanks for watching screen. I want to tell you, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. If I don't see you again, I'll let you know if we're doing any Canada content. Canada show today, Citadel Daniel asks. I'll find off. We'll see. Take it easy. Take it easy. Peace out, everyone.